representative of Egyptian women.
Okay.
The
Professor?
Western media is obsessed with people who look like people in the West, not Egyptian women in factories, in villages.
Unfortunately, I have to stop you there, and thank you all three for being with us. I'm so sorry to stop you because we're out of time, but thank you all for joining in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for being with us. Remember, you can follow the show on as a podcast on iTunes. Today we feature our conversation with world-renowned singer Yusuf Islam, famous for his work in the 60s as Cat Stevens. On the next show, rape as a weapon of war as women continue to be exposed to extreme sexual violence in the Democratic Republic of Congo. We speak with world-renowned feminist and activist Eve Ensler about a project to help victims of rape crimes there. Be sure to tune in for that. From me and the team, we'll see you next time.
Business Latest is brought to you by the Qatar Tourism Authority and Catalan. Business Latest is brought to you by the Qatar Tourism Authority and Catalan.
All sides, all views, all ways. Al Jazeera.
Malaysian ingenuity has created amongst the world's greenest, most cost-efficient buildings. It's created the world's tallest self-installing wellhead platform, designed the largest and most advanced racecourses, and constructed the most futuristic Formula One racing circuits. When the world needs services of the highest caliber and creativity, they look to Malaysia. Service excellence for the world.
What Gaddafi has done, he dismantled or destroyed the system in the country.
As chaos and violence sweep across Libya,
They're living through fear, they're living through a nightmare.
They're using ammunition, live ammunition.
Al Jazeera hears from those who have lived in fear of Gaddafi's regime.
We don't want him to leave. We want to arrest him. 42 years is too much.
Libya, a state of terror. At this time on Al Jazeera.
The UN General Assembly begins a debate on whether or not to suspend Libya from the Human Rights Council.
I'm Scott Heidler at the United Nations headquarters, where the General Assembly will vote on a resolution kicking Libya off the Human Rights Council that could further isolate the Gaddafi regime.
Welcome to Al Jazeera, 2000 GMT. David Foster with you in Doha. And also in this program,
in the years ahead, Libya could become a peaceful democracy, or it could face protracted civil war, or it could descend into chaos.
The US maintains that the option of a no-fly zone for Libya is still on the table, but Russia and China voiced their doubts. Desperate for help, hundreds of thousands flee the violence in Libya and the UN's warning of a growing refugee crisis. The caretaker government in Tunisia under increasing pressure as 3 more ministers quit, including a leading opposition figure. The United Nations is warning of a growing humanitarian crisis in Libya. It says more than 140,000 people have fled the uprising as world leaders ramp up political and economic pressure on Muammar Gaddafi, trying to force him out. Well, the situation on the ground still very unstable. In AlJazeera, a rebel army officer says military units are preparing to launch an attack against troops still loyal to Gaddafi. In the western city of Zintan, there are reports that Gaddafi's forces are planning a move to retake that town. And in the east, in Benghazi, protesters say they will keep up their fight. Well, that's where Tony Birdley is, in Benghazi. It's now an opposition stronghold. He sent us this.
Well, people in Benghazi are welcoming the talk of an air exclusion zone because that would remove the last remaining threat, we think, because on the ground, Gaddafi's forces are about 600 kilometers away. They're well armed and well trained, but it's a long way between there and here. Gaddafi still retains an air force capability. It has been used in the past, but a lot of pilots have defected. What the remaining capability is, we don't know, but it will still be brought into effect if he wants to throw that into the action as a last resort. But the question is now, where do we go from here? There's lots of rhetoric going on about the people will march from here and they will liberate Tripoli. Well, you can hear these shots of celebration here. People are very buoyant, in a very good mood. Shots have been going off all evening. But really, when it comes down to it, are they prepared to march against a very, very well-trained, well-armed force? We don't know. So there's a momentum growing, but they think, in the end of the day, that they will have to, liberate the country themselves. That they will not have to rely on the international community if these sanctions and if this outside pressure doesn't work.
US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has said that America and its allies have concerns about Libya's future.
In the years ahead, Libya could become a peaceful democracy, or it could face protracted civil war, or it could descend into chaos.
The United Nations General Assembly now meeting to discuss whether or not to suspend Libya. From the Human Rights Council, Scott Heidler's at the UN building for us in New York. Is there any doubt, Scott, that Libya will not be kicked off the UN Human Rights Council?
No, it doesn't seem like there's very little doubt. That resolution passed by the Human Rights Council last Friday in Geneva unanimously. Here, the General Assembly will need a 2/3 vote, so that's 128 members of the 192 General Assembly to vote them out of the Council. Now, what we're looking at now is there could be that flat-out vote where they actually do have to do a call of hands, if you will, or there could be a consensus. That is that the President of the General Assembly sees that there's really no opposition to this resolution formally and officially kicking Libya off the Human Rights Council, that there's no objection, then he can just say, okay, the resolution is passed. But we are hearing that there might be a couple of nations that will voice some opposition to it. Not that we're worried about the numbers, the 128 yay votes coming in, but there could be some discussion about it, thus meaning that there might not be a very quick consensus passing of this resolution here this afternoon.
And those countries that might support Colonel Gaddafi, which ones would they be?
Well, we're not quite certain exactly who might stand up and say, okay, we don't think that they should be kicked off the council. It's going to be open for discussion. We're hearing that Cuba and Venezuela's missions are saying that they want to speak at this General Assembly. Now, we don't know for certain that they're going to say, we support Gaddafi, so we don't think that they should be kicked off the Human Rights Council. What we do know at this stage is they want their voice to be heard, and exactly what they're going to say, we're not certain of that just yet. And again, when we look at this, a lot of times it is based not maybe necessarily specifically supporting